Hello and welcome to What's New Today. This is a kids and family podcast about current events shaping our world. In every episode, we look at a current event from the perspective of a curious child. From India, this is Sangeeta. And in today's episode, my co-host is...
My name is Abir. I am almost 9 years old. I go to Eton House, Broderick, and I live in Singapore.
In every episode, we discuss one interesting news story, be it in science or politics or business or entertainment. Abir, do you read the news much?
Not really, actually, but I watch videos on YouTube. I listen to the podcast on this channel. I like listening to them a lot. Like, they're very interesting. I think you are talking to somebody is more interesting than you just explaining it alone.
I totally agree.
I like the one where Europe is training more soldiers. And I liked when you describe why Russia was attacking Ukraine.
Attack.
So, is listening to stories or podcasts more interesting than reading those stories in books?
It is. I think even if the books were new, the podcast would probably be a tiny bit more interesting.
In today's episode, we are going to discuss why the country Turkey has changed its name to Turkiye. Abir, do you know if any other country has changed its name, or do you know anyone in your family who has changed their name?
There's a country called Myanmar, and I remember before I changed to Myanmar, it had a different name, Battery or something like that.
Not Battery. It used to be called Burma. And do you know any other person who's changed their names?
Person, yes, actually, my aunt, I remember. So her last name used to be Godali, but she changed it to her husband's name, which is it's a kind of a funny name, Mr. Stringer. Now she's Mrs. Stringer.
Wow, Abir, you've just mentioned one of the most common circumstances under which people change their names, which is sometimes when women get married, they take their husband's surname, not always. Is there any character in a storybook that you would like to give a different name?
There was somebody called Prometheus, and I found his name so difficult to pronounce. I think he should change his name to Krabby.
Username authorized.
He walks really like a crab, like.
And Prometheus features in which book series? Can you help me?
Percy Jackson. He is a Titan.
Percy, I'm the Titan of forethought. I know what's going to happen.
So, Abir, just like you said that you'd like to change Prometheus' name to Krabby because he walks like a crab, the country Turkey has the opposite reason. They are often confused with something else. So, what comes to your mind when I say the word turkey?
The bird turkey. I know how they feel because it's like, imagine if you were named after some kind of bird. So people eat the bird on Christmas, so maybe to them it felt like offending their country.
So when do you think people eat turkeys a lot, especially in the US?
Christmas they eat it a lot, but the most usually Thanksgiving.
Yeah, that's one of the reasons why Turkey wants to change its name. It no longer wants to be confused with the symbol of Thanksgiving holiday. Also, if you Google for the meaning of turkey, I believe the meaning isn't very flattering. Do you know what it means?
I remember it wasn't very good meaning, but I think it was something like, kind of like a stupid person or something.
Yeah, the word turkey refers to someone who is very foolish or silly. Imagine turkey on the one side being confused with the symbol of a Thanksgiving holiday, and on the other side being referred to as someone remarkably silly. It's also the butt of many jokes.
I remember some jokes actually. Why did the farmer have to separate the chicken and the turkey?
Why?
Because he sensed foul play.
So now the country Turkey has gone ahead and changed its name. It's sometimes being pronounced as Turkiye or Turkiye.
Actually, Turkey is just saying Turkey, but in the language of Turkish, in Turkish they say Turkey.
Abir, you spoke about one country called Burma, which has now changed its name and has become Myanmar. Do you know if there are any other countries who've changed their names?
No, actually, just that one.
Can I give you a few stories about other countries that changed their names?
Okay.
So, this is a story about a country called Swaziland, which gets nicely warm in summer. And it was often confused with another country which has very cool mountain tops in Europe, Switzerland.
Your lady.
And lots of tourists who wanted to go to Switzerland for summer ended up booking their tickets to Swaziland by mistake.
Where are we?
So now Swaziland went ahead and changed its name to Eswatini, which in their local language means the Kingdom of the Swazis. How does that sound as a reason to change their name, Abir? Are you convinced that this is a good enough reason for them to change their name?
Yes. Especially if people kept going to the wrong country. It's even better than the Turkey's region, actually.
Oh, it's better than Turkey's reason, is it? So, another story about a country that used to exist. It used to be called the Czechoslovakia. Now, this Czechoslovakia was made of two territories with two sets of people who didn't want to be a part of the same country. So they separated and became a country called the Czech Republic, and the other country was called Slovakia.
I think it's fine, except why did they name one of them Czech? Because now I think they might have to change it again. Because people might get confused with it and the character Shrek.
Then there's another country, one last story. This is about a country called Rhodesia, which is in Africa. So it was named after a Britisher who used to rule the country. His name was Cecil Rhodes. But once the country got its independence from the British, they did not want to retain the name of somebody who had ruled their country. They wanted a name that was more reflective of their own language and their own culture. So today, a part of that country is called Zimbabwe. Does that sound like a good enough reason to change a country's name?
I think it's fine.
Abir, remember you told me that you could understand how the people of Turkey might feel about their name being confused with that of a bird. You might find it offensive. So, a lot of countries that used to be ruled by others, like the Britishers or the Portuguese or the French or the Dutch, they also found it very offensive to retain the names given by the other countries who ruled them. So they all decided. So pretty much most of these countries, when they got independence, they all went ahead and changed their names. Like there's this country called Sri Lanka today. It used to be called Ceylon earlier, a name given by the Portuguese. The locals called it Lanka. They added a holy prefix called Sri in front of it, and the country is today called Sri Lanka. So, Abir, if some person has to change their name, what all do you think they need to do?
Well, they will have to do plenty of things, I think. Yeah, I think you first have to tell your friends and family, but there are other important things as well. They'll probably have to change their passport, also their ID. They'd have to get a new ID card. For example, if my mom, Niti Rajguru, wanted to change her name, then she'd have to get lots of different things. We go to the club also, we have a club card, she had to change that, and yeah, so lots of things like that.
So now imagine a country needs to change its name. A country doesn't have a passport for itself, does it? So where will a country change its name?
I'm not really sure.
Have you heard the word constitution?
No.
Constitution is like a super fat book which tells everyone in a country how they ought to behave, what rules they ought to follow. Something like a school handbook. Does your school have a handbook?
No, but there are kind of like rules in my school that we have to follow.
When a country wants to change its name, so it'll open this super fat book, the Constitution, and then it will go and make changes over there. So, for instance, Turkey will now have to have already made a change in the Constitution saying everywhere that we will no longer be called Turkey, we will now be called Turkey or Turkey, however it's pronounced. So remember, Abir, you also told me that you'll have to go and tell all your friends and family. So even countries have to do the same. So they usually go to this nice little group of countries called the United Nations, where they'll go and tell them that, look, if you're talking to us or if you are referring to us, please use the word Turkiye and don't confuse us with the bird you eat for Thanksgiving.
Roger that.
Where else do you think a country might need to go and change its name wherever it's printed?
I think they'll have to change the name and all of their currency notes. Because I have seen the word Singapore on the Singapore dollar notes.
Oh my god, that's a lot of reprinting to do, right? On so many currency notes. I'm just reminded, I think they'll also have to change the name on all the government letters. Usually, these government letters will have the emblem on top and then the name of the country below. So, they'll have to go and reprint all of that again. So, how much time do you think, Abir, it would take if you changed your name for others to?
Oh, to like start calling me that name, you mean? Oh, I'm pretty sure it wouldn't take too long, but maybe like 1 or 2 weeks, maybe.
What about a country?
A country? Well, for the entire world, you mean, to start calling it that name? Well, the entire world might not call it, but like most stuff, I think that would take much longer. Maybe like one month, maybe even 2 months.
They gon' remember my name.
Ooh, shall we now move on to the next fun part of this episode?
Quiz time. Let's see how well you listened.
Question 1. The country Turkey has changed its name. What is its new name?
The answer is Turkey.
Question 2. We know a country today called Myanmar. What was its name earlier?
Burma.
And the last and final question. Which country in Africa didn't want to be confused with a famous tourist destination, Switzerland?
The answer is Switzerland.
That brings us to the end of this episode.
If you enjoyed listening so far, please do leave a rating and a review. I'd like to know how much you liked it.
If any of you has any questions or comments for either Abir or me, please do email it to us at hello@wsnt.in. If you'd like to be alerted when the next exciting episode is released on this podcast channel, please click the follow button on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts.
Thanks for listening.